Today, our lesson is dating, and I am going to be your dating coach. So many of my couples always say I talk about marriage, but today it's all about the singles, okay? February is love month for me. It's a lot of things for a lot of people, but when I think of February, I always think of Valentine's Day and I always think of love, family, parenting, couples, intimate relationships, and you know that's one of my passions. So today we're going to talk about relationships. And next week, you don't want to miss that episode either because I'm going to talk about marriage. So married people, stick around. I have something for you too. But today is all about my singles. So from inspiration to impact to the community resources, I have some special things that I want to say to you. Our first lesson today is I sort of want to do a Q&A. So I came up with 3 questions that I pulled from my audience. Most of you know that I also have a Q&A column. So I pulled 3 of the questions and the responses that I typically give on relationships, and I want to share that with you. So these are the top 3 questions that I get. Nothing that I've talked about before. I wanted to do something new just for you. Okay? So here we go. So the first thing that I hear a lot of my singles talking to me about, they ask is, how can I create meaning in our relationship and form a solid relationship before taking on the role of wife or wifey, as the young people say, okay? So I have a couple of things that I want to share. Are you listening? Yes, okay. First of all, I want to talk to you about the many flavors of intimacy, okay? That is from my book, The Peace Program. A lot of couples and a lot of young women ask, how can we have more meaning? The relationship seems like it's not really solid. It seems like we're just dating and it's just, I don't know where it's going. You need to create meaning in your relationship. It's really important if you want to move to that next level. So I want to talk to you about the many flavors of intimacy because that's what you need to do. If you want meaning, you actually have to do meaningful things. That means you have to do different things in your relationship, okay? Not just sort of be involved with your friends and hanging out. That's surface stuff, okay? There's some deeper stuff that needs to be done. So I want to give you my tips. The many flavors of intimacy, which are from my book. One is, yes, you have the physical intimacy and it's not what you think. Of course, it is the looks, the etiquette, the charisma. It's sort of your attractiveness to that person. That's important. Okay? You need to be attracted to that person. There's somebody for everyone. You might not be attracted to everyone, but you're attracted to the person that you're dating. The second thing is aesthetic intimacy, shared interests, sports, hobbies. You actually need to build some common interests. Do some things together. Hopefully you already have some things in common, but maybe you can also do different things together. Go to a different restaurant, go to a different place for a trip, a day trip. Just find something that you have in common that maybe you haven't talked about before. But when you share interests, that brings you closer. The third thing is recreational intimacy. That's when you do things together. Maybe you ride the bicycles together. Maybe you take a walk together. Maybe you go to the movies. Maybe you go out to dinner. Whatever it is, take a class, learn a new language. But you need to do things together. Again, you're building intimacy, you're building meaning in your relationship. Number 4 is intellectual, okay? This is when you sit around and you talk about your hopes and your dreams and what fulfills you and what you want to do with your life, short term and long term. Those are things that you need to talk about. That's when you really get at his heart, her heart. You really understand that person and really who they are. If you only talk about what's going on in the job, which that's a lot of what we talk about, what's going on in the job, family issues, those things are important, but it's important to talk to a person about their hopes and their dreams so that you can help each other and push each other and support one another. The next one is spiritual intimacy. It's nothing like spiritual intimacy with the person that you really want to be with. And even if you don't know if it's long-term or not, but having that spiritual intimacy is really important. So maybe you go to church together. You can do that. However, you can also maybe read a scripture together. You can talk about God together. Maybe you both are spiritual. Maybe you're not. But most people, we say 97% of the world are some type of spiritual. But you need to talk about what your beliefs are. And that's something you should be talking about anyway, okay? The next thing is emotional intimacy. Feelings, trust, security. You should, in your relationship, make the other person feel like they can trust you. You should make them feel secure when they're around you, and vice versa. That person should make you feel like you can trust them, and they should make you feel safe. Okay, that's really important. Those things, again, build intimacy. Lastly is sexual intimacy. Notice that I left this one for last. So many of our young modern relationships start off with sex. That's not where it starts. That should be where it ends. You notice I gave you several things, okay? Several ways to build intimacy. Intimacy simply means closeness. several ways to build closeness over time, and sex really shouldn't be at the top of your list, okay? I'm not judging, I'm just saying it shouldn't be the first thing you do when you meet someone. Just hold on to that, okay? The next question that I want to cover is, as a man, and I had someone write into me and ask me this, as a man, why do I often want the women I know I don't need? As a man, why do I often want the women I know I don't need? So in answering this question, I always say, this is not something that men typically want to discuss. They, sometimes don't understand why they're attracted to the woman that they're attracted to. And they tend to, when they're attracted to someone, they tend to overlook that person's destructive sort of behavior or qualities, or the fact that the relationship can be emotionally abusive or physically abusive, and oftentimes financially draining. I know that one will get you, men. I know you'll hear me because you know what I'm talking about. She hits you right in the purse, okay? I'm getting ahead of myself, but I want to let you know that it's very complex attractiveness, that is, and you probably heard me talk about it a little bit, so I don't want to go into deep detail on that because it is about who you're attracted to and who's attracted to you, but I want to give you a little bit of information here in a way that it doesn't require a session with me, okay? A lot of times we are intrigued by people who are different from us, people who bring something else to the relationship, and for a lot of men that I work with, it's the I want you, I need you, I want to save you, I want to help you, you do something different, you're different from my significant other, you're different from me, and I always say, I know you're going to think this is funny, but I've heard this from so many guys, but guys like women that other men like too. So if it's a competition, he want to have the baddest chick, okay, on his side. So he picks women who are sort of high up there on the standard. What happens though with that is not understanding or not looking at why she's attracted to you. Not saying you're not a good dude and you're handsome and you're wonderful too, but why is she attracted to you? And many times guys don't ask themselves that. They just say, well, I was able to be with this woman, so I'm gonna keep her because she looks good, she makes me look good, it makes me feel good. But you're not looking at some of the deeper issues that might be going on there and some of the things that she might be looking at you for. Okay, hold on to that. In addition, men and women often forget about sort of the good qualities. And many times in this situation that I'm talking about, men will forget about the qualities that really matter. I hear both men and women saying, I want a good person. I really want to spend my life with someone who's nice, someone who's compassionate. But sometimes when you go to date, as I like to say, you say one thing, but you date another. You say you want the good stuff, but then you end up dating someone that doesn't have those great qualities. And then you wonder why they're hurting your feelings or why they're breaking your heart or doing things. And it may be because they didn't have your best interest in mind from the get-go. Just want you to hold on to that, okay? I don't want men to be so blinded because I know in asking this question, I always tell the men, you already know that this is not what you need. So why would you walk into that relationship knowing that that's not the kind of person that you need in your life and overlook the wonderful qualities of maybe some of the women who are trying to talk to you, who have qualities such as kindness, helping, compassion, work ethic, love, caring for you when you're sick, those type of things. Because the wrong person will not do those things for you or will do them at a price. So don't overlook the good because you're so blinded by, okay, the outside, okay, can get you in trouble. Last one, what are the signs that it is time to go our separate ways? That's the last one I have time to cover today, okay? When it's time to go, it's time to go. However, the heart doesn't always know this, okay? In your mind, you may be thinking it's time to end this relationship, but your heart may be saying, I still care about this person. I still love this person. This is someone I really want to be with, okay? But here are some signs that let you know it's time to go. Domestic violence. I'm going to put that at the top of the list. Anytime there's any type of abuse, whether it be physical or emotional or sexual or anything like that, it's time for you to start working on your exit plan. The next thing is fighting, okay? I know you might be thinking, well, that's the same thing as domestic violence, but I wanted to make sure I put it separately because sometimes people don't understand that it's leading that way, okay? So I say fighting, always in each other's face, arguments, constant arguments daily, several times a day, every time you interact, you're arguing. Those are not good things. Throwing things, I always say keep your finger out of people's face, even if you're not touching them. Nobody likes the finger in the face, okay? And after a while, somebody's gonna move the finger, and that's not a good thing, okay? Those are things that letting you know that you're leading up to possibly domestic violence, and we don't want that to happen. So sometimes it's better for you to leave as you know that relationship is escalating in that direction. Next thing is blatant disregard for each other's feelings. This is another one that I see that a lot of people don't understand, that, you know, it's also not healthy for your relationship. So all of a sudden you just don't care about my feelings. All of a sudden you just don't care about his feelings. You leave when you want to leave. You come when you want to come. You do whatever you want to do without thinking about that person. You make decisions in your life without thinking about them. You did think about them, but you just said, I don't really care. Okay? So just blatant disregard. And then name calling. You may think it's kind of cute at first. It's not cute. It's never cute, okay? Name calling, it could be, you know, you're so stupid, you know, you're not even right, or, you know, you always do the dumbest stuff, okay? So it might not be just what you think. It may be saying some negative things to you, maybe just putting you down, or it could just be that feeling of, you know, this person does not care about me or does not love me, okay? And when you get those feelings, sometimes it's time to go. You want to check yourself and make sure it's nothing that you're just sort of, you know, it's on the inside of you, something that's going on with you. Because sometimes it can be us, but if you're having any of these symptoms, that's something that I want you to think about. It might be that you're in an unhealthy relationship, and it might be time for you to think about moving on, okay? And that is all that I have for you today as your dating coach. If you want more, stick around. I have more for you in our Speak Into Your Life. It's now time for me to speak into your life. For this segment, I really want to give you a skill. So singles, are you still with me, okay? Today, I am your dating coach. So this, I want to help you to enhance your communication and decrease your conflict. Tell me that isn't important. It is important, okay? So one of the tips that I give to my couples, and one of the things I have you do as a couple, is something called active listening. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you've done it in a different environment, but today we're gonna talk about how you do it and how you can do it at home, okay, with your significant other. The first thing is, I want you to know that it not only enhances communication, because when you say communication, it's so broad, but one of the things that it does, guys, can you hear me? Okay, less talk time. I know you can appreciate that, because she usually likes to talk at inconvenient times. Usually in the morning, right before you go to work, right before you go to sleep, and right when you're about to take a nap, right before you're about to eat, and right before the game, right? Yes. Okay, so listen up, because I'm going to give you some tips that'll help you to enhance your communication and decrease your conflict, ladies. I know you want less conflict. I know you want more peace in your relationship. You can't understand how to get more of that. I got a couple of tips for you, okay? So I can't give you everything, but I'm gonna give you a couple of things. So one of the things I wanna introduce you to is something that I like to call active listening. And it's not just the skill that's gonna help you, but I'm gonna give you some tips around that. Active listening basically means that you are involved in the conversation. It means that you are present, okay? So I know, guys, I know you like to, you know, multitask. When you listen, that is not helping you, okay? Active listening means you are a part of the conversation. You say things like, really? Sheila did that? Wow. Really? Okay. So what happened after that? And I know you don't always want to do that, but I promise you, if you want less talk time, and you make her feel listened to, okay? And if she feels listened to, she will talk less, okay? And ladies, if you want decreased conflict, you want more peace in your relationship, then you also have to learn how to listen, okay? I know that most of the time we think of guys as the fixers. They want to fix the problem, and we don't always want to do that. We want them just to listen. But if you want decreased conflict, you want him to just be present with you, you have to also learn how to listen. You may say, well, he doesn't talk much about his feelings. We talk about the surfacey stuff. When he does talk, okay, when he does open up to you about something that is special, something that is serious, something that he's concerned about, don't talk, okay? Don't talk. Be supportive, just listen, okay? Don't give advice as well, but just listen, okay? And please do not judge. One of the things that I hear from the guys is that, well, as soon as I said this, she was thinking about something else. I was trying to tell her what happened at work between me and this guy, and the girl was standing right there, and she was like, well, who was the girl? And he was like, that wasn't even part of the conversation, okay? So think about the things that you're listening to. He's trying to tell you about his conflict and his feelings and feeling overwhelmed or feeling upset or sad about something. You can't listen to details and pick which details that you want to talk about, okay? So listen and be supportive. Coming on back, okay? I told you this wasn't your regular skill. So back to the active listening. I turned my notes upside down, okay? Back to the active listening. I want you also to make sure that you are involved in the process, but also that you are being a good speaker, okay? So I've talked about the listening. The speaker is don't talk all day, okay? This is mostly for the women. A lot of in the dating relationships, you wonder why the guy knows how you got a dog, that you're from a certain area, what happened between your parents. It's because you told everything in the first date, okay? Don't tell everything. It's okay to stay on the phone and talk about things, but don't tell everything and don't talk in circles. It's important that you talk concise. Be concise and then wrap it up, okay? Wrap it up. Part of the speaker-listener technique is that you talk a little bit, say what it is that's on your mind, you stop, and you allow the other person to rephrase, okay, or say what it is that you said back to them, okay? So I heard you say that really hurt you, you're really upset about what happened at work, and you can say things like, is that correct? But you want to make sure that you were listened to. That's the most important thing in the speaker-listener technique, okay? That the person feels heard and that they feel validated. At the end of that, as I talked about earlier, you're going to increase meaning in your relationship. When you have future talks, you're both going to want to engage with one another. You're not going to mind talking. He's not going to mind when you say, I want to talk. He's not going to go, oh. Because most people, when you say that, they hear, oh goodness, something's wrong with our relationship. And that shouldn't be the case. When you say we want to talk, you should look forward to that, okay? Last thing that I want to talk about is some tips that go with active listening, okay? Make sure your body language conveys that you're interested in your listening, reduce any distractions, and listen for content and the feelings behind what the person is saying, not just how they're saying it. You probably see my face is a little balled up. I get a little passionate. Sometimes that happens with girls, mostly guys. So don't just judge them by their facial expression or their body language. Last thing is I want to give you a quick conflict tip. I want to make sure that you understand how to do conflict. It's a basic tip, and I'm going to wrap up here. Basically, you need to have a plan. Figure out what the problem is, come up with some solutions, make a plan. Call it a day. Don't talk about it in circles. Don't talk about it for hours. Figure out what the conflict is. Spend less time on the conflict, more time on the solutions, and I promise you that's the best recipe for conflict resolution. God bless you. I'll be right back with your community resources. Welcome back. It's now time for our community resources. I have a couple of things that I want to tell you about today, okay? 3 things, actually. One is the Couples College. I have a couple of events that I want you to come to. I have some dates for you. We're starting the Couples College now. You can register now. The first thing we have is the Marriage Boot Camp, which is for married couples only, where for 10 weeks, you can rekindle your love. Together, you bring your spouse and you do different activities and learn and also share your experiences, okay? So then the next thing we have is My Class Spouse. My Class Spouse is for single men and women only. You can bring someone or I can hit you with someone for 10 weeks and you also learn about healthy relationships. It is so much fun. I've been doing it for years. I want you to come and be a part. So I need you to call and register now. Call 757-773-1396. Last thing is I have several I Speak Life seminars coming up because I tell my students, I speak life, okay? One is called Inspired, March the 12th and March 26th. And the last one is Love, War, and Peace. I want you to come to that on March 19th from 9 to 12 at my office. Lastly, again, I want you to remember as I wrap this show up, unleash your greatness and love the life that you lead. God bless you. And I'll see you next time on It's Life Changing.